What's up, everybody? In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about the brand new VEVOR Power Transformer. This is a device I picked up that allows me to operate my 12-volt Lego train at the proper speed. I went from operating the train like this to now operating the train at this speed. That to me is super exciting. I am very happy that now it is actually working well, and it's just wonderful. So in this video, I'm going to touch on, this transformer, when you may need it, what its features are, as well as this. This is an outlet adapter, and I'll get into that as well. Then we'll figure out which one you need, I guess. All right, first off, there was a lot of trial and error with this entire, just trying to get this train to run at the proper speed. A lot of trial and error. I kind of feel a little dumb about it that, if I just researched a little bit or read up on it, probably would have figured it out. However, I was just, I bought this train set. I was like, this is great. I was like, I have this. It probably will work. Plugged it in, and then the train was going slowly, and I was like, okay, it's not working. But, I still posted the video, and then people told me, hey, you do need a transformer to, output 220 volts. I finally got around to picking up the transformer. I think I bought this for around $55. I'll leave links in the description. I did buy this directly from VEVOR, and I bought this on Amazon back when I was traveling abroad. Exactly. Okay, here we are. So with this, when I bought it, I was super eager and excited to kind of get this train running. Plugged it in, didn't read any of the directions. That was one of my first failures. Well, first failure wasn't researching anything on this one. This wasn't working. Second failure was not checking anything out on this or, reading the directions before I plugged it in and just started setting up the train set. So I was running the train set and it was doing the exact same thing that it would when I had this plugged in. So then that made me believe, I was like, well, maybe they're both, outputting 220, but something's wrong with my terminals or something's wrong with the motor on this. I then took this train set. This is one I haven't built yet or reviewed. I'm going to soon, but I took the motor from it, put it on the tracks. Lo and behold, same thing. So I had figured, what are the odds that two of my motors are broken when they both look relatively clean and new, or good, I should say. So then I looked up videos. Okay, what do you do to clean the terminals or anything? Because, they look like they have some chips on them and whatnot. That's when I found a guy online that had posted all sorts of 12-volt train videos. I don't know exactly how to pronounce the name, but I will leave a link to the video in the description. And, they had great advice. Use alcohol, swab them, clean them, and I did that. Well, the rails I'm using look very clean. So not once did I ever think to wipe them down. So I put the train back on there after cleaning it, and it still kind of did the same thing. So I'm like, okay, what is going on? And I'm like, it can't be the tracks. It possibly can't. And anytime I say, oh, well, it can't be this, like there's been several times in my life where I'm like, oh, there's no way it would be that. Even with stupid things in college for like an engineering class, I'm like, well, it couldn't be that. Anytime I said that, 9 out of 10 times, it ended up being that thing. So I wiped down the tracks, and lo and behold, the train starts moving. And it operated at this speed. So I'm like, okay, cool, this is actually working. But then I plugged it into both this and this. This should be outputting 220, and this should be outputting, I figured it would be 220. Obviously it's not. It's outputting whatever the input is. This doesn't convert it where this does. And they're both operating at the same speed. So I'm just like, okay, maybe I should return this. I clearly don't need it. And then I'm still looking at videos online of, people with the 12-volt collections and all their trains, and they're zipping around the track. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. Maybe this is faulty. I'm just not the brightest sometimes, and that's all right. When I finally picked this up and was looking at it, I turned it around, simply saw this switch on the back. This switch allows you to go from 110 input to a 220 input. It was marked up, the switch was on saying that the input voltage was 220. In that case, it's just pulling the exact same input and outputting it right here. It's not altering it. And that is why this outlet and this were both operating at 110, 120 volt input. Once I flicked that switch on and plugged this train back in, there we have it. It was running perfectly. All I had to do was push the switch over that said my input voltage is 110, like 120, and now it's ramping this voltage up to give me an output of 220, and then it'll keep that same output, or it'll keep the same input for these outlets because I don't want them to change. However, I want this to be about double what the input is. Lo and behold, it got the train working. Took way too long, but essentially that's the story with that. All right, finally, let me talk about both these devices, when you may need one or the other, and kind of what the main differences are. Number one, price. This was about $55 and this was about $20. I'll leave links in the description for these items. I'm not sponsored by either of these companies or anything. These are just products I purchased that have been working for me. Second thing, size, obviously. This is much larger than this. This is very compact. This is great for traveling, and you could throw it in a backpack. This is a whole device that it has a carry handle and everything. It takes up more space. Essentially, if you're running an appliance such as like a hair dryer or a coffee maker that has a plug like this on it, then that means its input voltage is around 220, and that's when you would need something like this. If you had a very fancy coffee maker from England, you're over here in the US now, and you want to still use that coffee maker, that would be a time when you would purchase something like this, or a fancy hair dryer, something that really needs all of that input electricity or voltage. Now, something like a laptop, a phone charger, small devices, that's when you would need this. This is very compact. Again, it allows you to use any input outlet. Ta-da. These even turn for the other connections you may need. It allows you to use any input and have any output plug. For example, when I traveled, I used this plug commonly, and then I would be plugging in this US outlet style here on this front with my laptop charger, my phone charger. It also has the USB and USB-C ports down at the bottom, which is helpful. But this is, again, helpful for those small devices, those things that don't require much electricity. In this case, this train was still clearly able to operate with the input voltage I had used, our 110 versus our 220. However, it just didn't have enough electricity. And in the similar case, if you're using, let's go back to the coffee maker example, it might work with this. However, it might not work properly. So for those larger things, you do need one of these. And this is just simply for smaller things. This is great for traveling, ideal for very small devices, mainly phones, laptops, charging headphones, things like that. Well, there you have it. That's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. Please comment with any questions you may have. Obviously, I learned a little bit more about this, and it is a very simplistic device. I've been using this for a while. Usually I'm all right with electronics, but in this video, leading up to this video, not so much. But thanks again. Please subscribe if you want to see more content like this.
Lego my Jameso.